Hi everyone, this is Group C with Haley Davis, Lauren Flannery, Francis Fox, and Mackenzie Williams. The topic we are going to discuss is companies monitoring employees' online activity and firing them if they find it detrimental to the company's image. What is the ethical dilemma exactly? We would like to know if it's right or wrong for an employee to lose their job because of something they posted on social media that may be viewed as offensive, harmful, slanderous, or a personal attack on someone. Before we get started on each side's views, I would like to point out a few infamous people that have suffered job loss due to what they posted on social media. When you simply Google social media and job loss, the name Justine Sacco will be one of the first news stories that you see. 30-year-old Justine Sacco lost her job as a senior director of corporate communications at IAC due to a misunderstood tweet. Justine had been traveling across the globe and was posting a tweet here and there to her 170 followers. She was commenting on others' poor hygiene and body odors. But one final tweet before she boarded an 11-hour flight was just the beginning of the end of her career with IAC. Upon landing, Justine soon learned that she had lost her job. Next, we have Connie Levitsky. Connie lost her job working for Edition L when she posted about her enthusiasm in helping women. Little did Connie know that using the word fat was off limits when describing how excited she was to help women find professional clothing. Lastly, we have Talia Jane. Talia lost her job working for Yelp when she decided to post a very public, open letter to the CEO of Yelp, Jeremy Stoppelman, about how little she was paid and could barely afford to pay for groceries, had to stop using her heater, and that 80% of her income was used just to pay her high rent living in San Francisco. The CEO acknowledged the letter and agreed that San Francisco was a pricey place to live. He was not, however, fond of the personal attack, and Talia was soon let go. While this is a current issue with companies monitoring their employees' online activity, there are usually two sides to every debate. On the employee side, we may often feel that my employer doesn't have the right to monitor what I do on my own personal social media account. This is my freedom of speech, and it should not impact my place of work. As long as I am off the clock, I can post whatever I want with no repercussions. And on the employer side, they may argue what you post on social media is a direct reflection of your employer, whether it be good or bad. If you wouldn't say it at work, you shouldn't say it online for the world to see. Harmful, offensive, and verbally abusive language should affect your employment.
What your employer sees. When it comes to this situation, there are a few factors that come into play. One of the first ones is coworker comfort. Say you're taking a Snapchat of a coworker, or tweeting about them, or posting something about them on Facebook. They may find this situation uncomfortable. They may find it a tad bit stalkerish. They may find it offensive. Everyone reacts differently, so this is something that you definitely need to watch for. One of the other ones is a little more rare, but it does fall into this. It's a non-compete agreement. Say that you are posting online about any procedures or policies from your company. If you signed a non-compete agreement, you are failing to adhere to that contract. So your employer is not going to be happy about that you're sharing trade secrets with somebody who could be a competitor. Another thing is your location. If you're in a secure area, your phone may place you somewhere where you don't want people to see. Also is your time management. Obviously, if you're not posting things that are offensive and rude, your employer probably isn't going to be too concerned. But if you're posting things a lot during the day that are not a good light on the company and you're on company time, this is looked at very poorly and could lead to your termination. One thing that I like to say is, if a professional looks you up, will they be impressed? Is this something that your coworkers are going to appreciate, or something that your grandmother would be okay with you posting. Another thing is, are you putting your company in a good light? If you're putting your company in a bad light, this could lead to termination. Also, if you post anything controversial, like we saw with the case with the person who gave the middle finger to President Trump, this could be looked at as very poor. If it's a company who is very ethical, they're not going to want to see their employees misbehaving online. One thing that we all forget when we start a position is that whether you know it or not, you are the image of the company. This is a photo that I found online for Facebook posts that got an employee terminated. So if you saw this on Facebook, it looks like Taco Bell. Would you return to this restaurant? Is this something that you would personally want to be associated with? So can you imagine if you're an employer and you see your restaurant location tagged in this photo? That's not going to look great. It's not something that they want. And how would you feel if your name was associated with that establishment? So I am pretty sure that this employee was terminated after this instance, especially in a restaurant environment. This is something that goes against health code violations. It goes against a lot of policies and procedures, and this is something that an employer has every right to terminate an employee for. The moment you begin employment, you become a representation of that establishment, and that's the biggest thing to remember when it comes to this, because this is very important to the companies, and I think that there's a lot of ethical reasons that they could terminate an employee for making their business look very poor. They don't want this image, they don't want their customers to see this, and they don't want their customers to have to deal with these situations either. Nobody knows what kind of sickness this person has, and if they're giving it to somebody else, it's just not something that they want for their business, and they have every right to terminate an employee for such crude behavior.
From an employee standpoint, social media monitoring can feel as a great violation to privacy and trust. It violates an employee's privacy as it is their own social media account, not that of the business, and this is especially true if they're updating their accounts on their personal time and using their personal electronics. Also, for many employees, they feel that they're only a representation of their company as they're on the clock. When they are off the clock, it is their personal time, and it is not the employer's position to be looking into what they are doing or what they believe. The employee's trust is being violated, as the company is showing distrust towards them by monitoring their social media and seeing what they post. And if the companies are going as far as monitoring their social media, what is to say and what is the employee to trust that they are not monitoring further into their lives as to what they are doing? From an employee standpoint, the question of fairness of this monitoring also comes into play. Who decides on who's on the monitoring and who decides what is unnecessary or inappropriate? The people that are doing the monitoring are not always guaranteed to be fair, and they may not necessarily watch all employees equally. It would be easy to oversee posts that were possibly inappropriate from people that you were friends with or that you liked being a part of the company. And it would also be easy to take posts from people that they did not like or that they did not want to work with the company more and convey their post into a negative aspect. Social media is also an unequal representation of the employees in the company. Not all people have social media accounts, as though most do. And of those people that do have social media accounts, many of them do not have the same amount of accounts or post as frequently as others that do have accounts. Along with this, people are able to create false social media pages that would allow them to slander the company name or post inappropriate things that they would not get consequences for, as someone else would.
Our stance on the matter is that employees should not be fired because their posts are personal beliefs that they share on social media. Obviously, these cases that are more extreme should be resulting in termination. Some examples of that is that when their behavior clearly crosses a stated employer policy, an other obvious line, like threatening or harassing towards other employees, when their behavior is clearly violating the social media policy, or when the employee is on social media for personal use while on the clock. Obviously, some jobs use social media on the clock, so that is not considered. Another one is behaving in a way that tarnishes the employee's or the employer's reputation, whether that's by association or simply from the employee's conduct. Another one is giving out confidential information. And the last one is posting things that prove the employee has lied to the organization, such as taking medical or disability related leave, but then showing on social media that the reason for the leave was not valid. Now I will give some preventative guidelines to follow to avoid termination for personal social media use. The first one is only using social media on your personal time and off the clock. Next, know your employer's policies on social media and follow it. Any confidential information should stay confidential and off any social media or anywhere on the internet. When friending and following coworkers, there's a line of appropriateness, so proceed with caution of your posts and who you friend and follow. And remember, nothing ever completely goes away on the internet.